creations, and one better than the next. They're all outstanding. The fourth one was good, but didn't reach the same heights as the first three. Buzz Lightyear, along with the sheriff, who was Sheriff Woody, were the toys given the most airtime, or most time on screen. So it's only fitting at least one of them gets a breakout sort of role or showcase on his own. I'm wondering whether they're going to do one on Woody as well. Maybe that's something they could consider. This one, Lightyear, is Buzz's origin story, because he's a space ranger, and he likes narrating his own adventures, something that his commanding officer and good friend finds quite amusing. Now, the pair, along with a new recruit who Buzz does not have much time for, go exploring a new planet. And although initially this planet seems dormant, under the surface lies an appreciable threat. And that appreciable threat amounts to a giant slug, it's the best way I can put it, that pulls those above ground underground, right? So they've got this feature that basically all of a sudden it's like quicksand, you're gone. And in hightailing it out of there, Buzz and others end up in worse strife because they're marooned. And I think they're marooned on the same planet. I've been speaking to various people who say, no, it's a different planet. It was the same planet, wasn't it, Dave?
Yeah, it was, yep.
Yeah, there we go. Any and all attempts to fly home fail, as minutes literally turn into years thanks to a space-time continuum. So while Buzz, who keeps on trying to get off the planet, only ages by minutes every test flight he takes, those below who remain grounded age appreciably. I think it's 4 years every time that he goes away, is it not, Dave?
Yep.
Yep, 4 years. Okay. Now, before long, Buzz finds himself with a new commanding officer who has new ideas. And with an amateur ranger being the enthusiastic granddaughter of his former commanding officer, and an equally inexperienced ragtag crew as his only hope of quelling a new, even greater threat, being a gigantic robot called Zorg and his destructive army, Buzz has his work cut out. That is Lightyear. I just don't think it had the same sparkle of Toy Story. And, well, again, the same thing we were talking about before, that with the Minions, they appeal to both children and adults. Toy Story appealed to both children and adults. I reckon Lightyear's more of a kids' movie. That's the way I see it. Peter, what about you?
Look, I'm not so sure about that, because I think kids will get confused by the whole time travel story and by the aging process and who does age and who doesn't. And again, with my comments about writing, there is something wrong with the writing in Lightyear, that they try and make an attempt at establishing the backstory of Buzz Lightyear, but I'm not quite sure whether they've done that effectively. And it's interesting to note that the only standout thing in the film, for me, was the same-sex kiss by the two women, which I thought, now here's Pixar trying to move forward and to have something more open and more sensitive, but it wasn't framed particularly well, and it was just dismissed very quickly. I thought, I don't know.
Sorry, Peter, I actually take real issue with you on that. I reckon it's ridiculous that we have to talk about, I mean, I know we're talking about it for the right reasons, that finally it's happened in a Disney movie, but from my point of view, when we don't talk about it is when we've really come of age. And I love the fact that it was not done with any pomp and ceremony. It was just very natural. And it's funny, in fact, only before we went to air today, I was speaking to somebody else who happens to be gay. And we were both commenting on how it was so good that it was so natural. And a big thing wasn't made of it, other than people like us now talking about it because it is unusual. But do you see my point, that it shouldn't be unusual? It should just,
It is unusual for an animation that is designed for children. And I think, having seen that the film is now banned in some countries because of that, I think it is still an issue. I agree, it shouldn't be an issue. It should be automatic, and it should be accepted without any question. But it sort of stands out in this film as being an area where perhaps the writers should have paid more attention overall to the story.
Really? To that storyline, you reckon? I think...
Well, overall.
Overall, I paid more attention overall to the story, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, as I say, I thought it was hit with just the right note, and bear in mind that there, in the real world, there are offspring of gay relationships, male, female, and if you like, those that are sort of neither one.
And there have been for decades now, Alex.
Yeah,
and Alex, I agree with you, but I want to ask Peter or you a question. With that being banned in some Asian countries that I know, is it because of just the kiss, or is it because of the relationship? Because I thought the relationship was quite naturally fed in, but then all the hoo-ha happened because there was just this, this small moment of the kiss that you could easily miss.
Well, I think both. I think, some societies, for religious reasons or whatever, say it's not acceptable. That would be my answer to that. It's not, but obviously then when there is a kiss, and by the way, we're not talking about a passionate kiss here, folks. So
No.
a
passing peck, really.
Yeah, it really is. So that's the reason. But yeah, I mean, Dave, to me, if this is normalised in a cinematic setting, because it is normal, I mean, people in real life will see two males or two females or two that are intersex or whatever having a relationship, and the offspring that go to school, etc. It's quite normal, and to highlight it, I still despair that we're in 2022 and that this is what makes the papers about Lightyear.
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
Let me say that we're talking about it more than the kids talk about it. Put it like that, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Dave?
Yeah, well, look, when I watched the film, it just went completely over my head. I just went, oh, yeah, so what, kind of thing. And then I was actually surprised when all the hoo-ha came out about it. And I was actually surprised that was kind of so speculated on, because then when I went into Minions, I was like, well, is anyone going to bring up the point that there's a cross-dressing Minion, like in these other countries as well? But yeah, to me, it wasn't. It was just a moot point. It was just, okay, so she's got two mums. But it didn't worry me at all. So, yeah, it surprised me.
But you didn't like Lightyear anywhere near as much as Minions.
No, because with Lightyear, I felt that the whole premise of this film is it's the film that Andy went and saw in the original Toy Story that then made him want to have the Buzz Lightyear toy. But this film feels nothing like a 90s or late 80s animation. If you go back and have a look at things like Defenders of the Earth or Transformers back in those times, this looks nothing like it. But it also, I felt this could have been the perfect opportunity to have done what they did with Minions, where Minions goes back and parodies the 70s. They could have gone back and parodied the animations that were around at that time and kind of made a little bit of fun of it. Instead, they're basically saying this is the film that Andy watched, but anybody that's got any kind of cinematic knowledge will look at it and go, well, that's 2022 technology that they're using for the film. There's no way that's the film that he watched. Likewise, the kids around me were getting so confused with the time travel, I could hear their conversations with their parents. So for me, the film fails if kids can't understand the film.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, understand. So, Jackie, what was your view overall of Lightyear?
My view overall has to be condensed to the first 20 minutes because I had a little hiccup in my schedule.
Oh.
And so actually I saw 30 minutes. I saw half an hour of it.
Oh, okay.
So that's all. But, I mean, just a sense of it from that, which is,
sure.
Less than half, was that it seemed to be quite good fun. And it was somewhat confusing on what was going on. Personally, I understood the age, but I don't know whether any children might have had trouble with that.
Sorry, you cut out for a second. You understood.
Oh, I'm sorry. What? Oh, how the aging processes were different between the travel and those who stayed on the planet. Right. And I actually thought that was a great point. I thought it was a great way for children to see the aging process and even death in that where the partner dies. I thought that was good to include. But I totally get what Dave's saying about the look of it. Yeah, there was something I just didn't gel.
Well, look, we're running short of time, so let's just say I enjoyed the setup. I thought that was well done, but the film lost me once it became clear Buzz was going to do endless loops trying to get off the hostile planet. And once the good versus evil component was established, it just became a question of how do we deal with the bad guys, and the biggest of the bad guys in particular, that robot. So we've seen it before, arguably done better. It matters not whether it's in human or animated form. I did like the humorous moments that they injected the warmth of a Buzz's pet cat. That we haven't mentioned that. That was a bit of fun. I also appreciated the journey to greater self-awareness that Buzz went on, but I wanted to enjoy Lightyear more than I did. And it's going to sound like the ultimate put down, but well, I got a little bit bored. So anyway, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. What about the rest of you, Jackie?
I would have given it. I've got 6 written down here. I would have given it a 6, I guess, in the end.
Dave?
I'm giving it 5 out of 10 and give Socks his own film.
Socks the robot.
Socks, exactly. And what would you give Socks and Buzz, Peter?
I thought it was Lightyear. But anyway, a disappointing film. Should have been written in a much more cohesive sort of way, and I gave it 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10 as well. Look, we're